Hello everyone, this is Indrajit Ganguly and welcome to your history class. Dear students, in my last class I have discussed with you about the establishment of Mughal rule in India, and you also understood that the importance of chronicles and manuscripts to reconstruct the history of Mughal Empire. In my today's class, I will discuss with you about the topic number 5 from NCERT, the ideal kingdom. And you will know that and you will understand that how the Mughal rulers and the Mughal empire became the ideal kingdom for its subjects. Okay, my first topic, that is from this topic, a divine light. Remember students, from the ancient India, if I reconstruct the history of India from the Hindu rulers, that if I discuss about the modern empire, all the rulers, they adopted the concept of divine right of kingship. Divine right of kingship. Now, what is the divine right of kingship? It is the theory that all the rulers and all the kings, Raja, Maharajas, Badshah, Sultan, all of them, they followed this concept. The concept is that the god sent the particular ruler to rule over their subjects. So, the kings and the rulers, they are the representatives of the gods. So, the Mughal emperor also followed the same concept. They said that Badshah received light from God. Okay, and Badshah is the source of spiritual guidance for his subjects. This theory is very popular, and this theory is very important because by proving this theory, by implementing this theory, the rulers wanted to prove that they got the right of legitimacy to rule over these subjects. Because if the ruler is saying that I am the representative of God and God has sent me and I received the light from the God, that means that you are the representative of the God. So, the common people could not disobey the particular rulers. I hope you remember that in chapter 6, all the rulers, they have a close connections with the Bhakti saints and the Sufi saints. Why it so? Because they wanted to get the attention of the common people. Okay, and the Mughal artist portrayed emperors wearing the halo rays of light. I hope you know that basically all the Indian gods, they are having the lights of the rays of light. It is known as halo, and all the Mughal painters also depicted the same thing because they are the representative of the god, which was symbolized the light of the god. There is an example in NCERT on page number 233. There is a famous Mughal painting. Please look at this Mughal painting and you will understand the particular topic. Next topic, that is a unifying force. Remember students, India was ruled by the Muslim rulers since 1206. First of all, Delhi Sultans ruled over India, and from 1526 the Mughal ruled over India. Basically they are Muslim peoples, but the thing is that all the subjects, they are non-Muslims. Majority is Hindu, and also other religious peoples are there like Buddhists, Sikhs, Jains are also there. So, the Delhi Sultans, they never think about the non-Muslim peoples. Okay, some rulers are there who are basically secular minded, they are not religious biased, but the Mughal empire basically Akbar took different approach to the non-Muslim subjects, because Akbar believed that if the Mughals wanted to consolidate their power in India, then it was required the unification of the diverse population of India. So, for this concept, Akbar adopted the policy of Sul-e-Kul. Sul-e-Kul. The meaning of Sul-e-Kul is universal peace. By this concept, Akbar wanted to get all the religious community into one umbrella. And you will be surprised to know that Akbar adopted a secular religious policy. Okay, first of all, in the main things of secular religious policy, Akbar abolished the jizya tax and pilgrimage tax. Remember students, jizya and pilgrimage tax has to be paid by the non-Muslim subjects from the time of the Delhi Sultan, and this was a very discriminatory tax. And all the non-Muslim peoples, they are not like the Muslim rulers because of these tax. So Akbar believed that if he wants to, if he wants to the support of the common people, non-Muslim people, then he has to abolish the subjects. He has to abolish these taxes, and by this all the non-Muslim people will love Akbar. So this was a very important policy that Akbar took. Next, I hope you know that Akbar was a very secular minded person. So in his secular minded policy, Akbar married a Rajput princess and her name was Jodhabai. Okay, that was also another important religious policy. So on the basis of Sulh-e-Kul policy, Akbar adopted a new religion. Akbar started a new religion. This new religion is known as Din-e-Ilahi. Din-e-Ilahi. This topic was in detail in topic number 9.3 and topic number 10 in the NCERT. Please go through this topic because it is very important. Okay, Din-e-Ilahi is a new religion. In this religion, all the good things from different religions, from Hinduism, from Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, all the good things of different religions are adapted in these in the concept of Din-e-Ilahi. Okay, and you will be surprised to know that before going to the namaz, Akbar was, first of all, Akbar prayed to the sun god, and then he will go for the namaz. And when his mother died, Hamida Bano died, Akbar's mother was Hamida Bano, Akbar shaved his beard. So it is another secular minded policy, secular religious policy of Akbar. Okay, so in this way Akbar attracted the non-Muslim subjects and Akbar became one of the greatest ruler in India. Okay, our next topic, that is just sovereignty as social contract. Abul Fazl described that the Mughal emperor protects the four essence of his subjects: Jaan, which means life; Mal, which means property; Namus is honor; and Din is in its faith. Obviously, this is the duty of the emperor to protect these subjects, and Mughal emperor was doing the thing in very good manner. So from these topic you will understand how the Mughal emperor became the ideal kingdom in the Indian subcontinent. Okay, now I am continuing the topic number 6, that is capitals and courts. Basically in this topic I will discuss with you the capital cities of the Mughal Empire. When Babur established the Mughal Empire, Babur chose Agra as the capital of the Mughal Empire. Remember, Agra was the capital of the Delhi Sultanate during the time of Lodhis. Sikruddin Lodhi established the city Agra, and Babur also chose the capital city as Agra. When Akbar became the Mughal emperor, he constructed a new capital in Agra, that is known as Fatehpur Sikri. Okay, Fatehpur Sikri is a very important place, a very remarkable place. When you visit Agra, please visit the place Fatehpur Sikri. It was a distance from the Agra station for only 40 to 45 kilometers. It's a very important place, very remarkable place. Now there is a story. When I visited Fatehpur Sikri, I heard a story from the guide of the Fatehpur Sikri that Akbar could not get any child or any son from his begums. So therefore Akbar heard that there was a famous Sufi saint. His name was Salim Chishti ji lived in a Fatehpur. Okay, and he visited Fatehpur. He visited Fatehpur with his bodyguards and armament to get the blessings from the Sheikh Salim Chishti. And after getting the blessing from Sheikh Salim Chishti, Akbar get a son from his wife, and therefore he gave the name to the first son, and that name was Salim. Okay, later on Salim became Jahangir. Remember student, it is a story, and I also heard the story from the guide of the Fatehpur Sikri. So and therefore Akbar constructed a Fatehpur Sikri, and whenever you entered the Fatehpur Sikri, you will find there is a dargah of Sheikh Salim Chishti ji was there, constructed with the white marbles, and it was a very important place, and it was the capital of Akbar. Jahangir also maintained the same things. Jahangir also chose the capital city as a Fatehpur Sikri, but during the time of Akbar, Akbar shifted the capital to Lahore in 1585, because Lahore has a very important geographical position, because Akbar shifted the capital from Agra to Lahore, because Akbar trying to develop the security of the place, and therefore Akbar shifted the capital from Agra to Lahore in 1585. Next, during the time of Shah Jahan constructed a new city, and that is known as Shahjahanabad. It was constructed in the year 1648. Whenever you visit Delhi, Delhi was divided into two parts. One is called Old Delhi, another is called New Delhi. Remember students, Old Delhi was basically constructed by the Mughals, and Old Delhi is basically known as Shahjahanabad. And New Delhi was constructed by the British, and that's why the New Delhi was known as Lutyens New Delhi, because Edward Lutyens designed the city of New Delhi. And the Old Delhi was constructed by the Mughals. And in the Shahjahanabad, you can find Red Fort is there, Jama Masjid is there, Chandni Chowk market is there. This is in the Shahjahanabad. So this is about the capitals of the Mughals, and how the Mughals shifted the capital and how they established a strongest rule in India. Okay students, now I will discuss with you another important topic, that is daily routine and special festivals associated with the Mughal Empire. Remember students, this topic is very important for 8 marks question. So please listen these things very carefully, and it is very interesting too. First of all, the emperor's day began at the crack dawn when he said his prayers. Next, he appeared on a small balcony called Jharokha. So first meeting of the emperor to his subjects from the balcony of the emperor, that is called Jharokha Darshan. Okay, so after completion of the Jharokha Darshan, then emperor have a meetings with the common people and with the ministers and the other people in a meetings called Diwan-e-Aam. So you can understand that from the name it is a Aam Darbar. Whenever you will visit Red Fort or Fatehpur Sikri, you will find these particular places, that is Diwan-e-Aam. Next, after spend some time, some hours in Diwan-e-Aam, then the ruler, they made private discussions and confidential matters in the Diwan-e-Khas. So you can find the name, that is called Khas Darbar, right? Okay. In the Khas Darbar, here tax official presented their accounts, and high rankings and ministers presented their petition before him. The emperor sometimes also viewed the building plans of architects and works of the highly reputed artists. So you can understand the importance of the Darbar Diwan-e-Khas. Next, there are several court rituals are there called Chahar, Taslim, Zamin Bosh. Chahar, these can be in that way, Chahar. Next, it can be another festival. Suppose that there is a knee down before in front of emperor, and there is a full prostration before emperor. Zamin Bosh, kissing the ground of in front of emperor. So these kinds of court rituals are there. And remember students, emperor is the supreme authority in the Mughal court, and whenever he sat on the throne, every person has to stand before the emperor, and no one could sit before the emperor, and no one could leave the court without taking any permission from the emperor. This is a very important thing, and if there are any mistakes, then any person could be punished by the emperor. So these kinds of court rituals are there. Okay, there are special occasions too where that was celebrated in the Mughal Empire, that is Eid, Shab-e-Barat and Holi. These types of festivals generally celebrated in the Mughal Empire. And there are also another special festival like lunar and solar birthday of the Mughal Emperor, Nowruz. These festivals also have a grand occasion, grand festivals that was celebrated in the Mughal Empire. During the birthdays of Mughal Empire, there is a huge equilibrium was there, and in a one pan, Mughal Emperor sit in a one pan, and in the other pan, various commodities put in the other pan, and the weightage of the Mughal Empire will be given as a charity to the common people. So these kinds of Mughal rituals and festivities are associated with the life of Mughal Empire. Okay, so these are very important. Please read this topic very carefully, because it is important for the 8 marks question. This is it for today. In my next class, I will discuss with you about the role of women in the Mughal households. Thank you and have a nice day.